I want you to imagine a packed university coliseum. And when I say filled to the brim, I mean more people than you're imagining now. And I want you to understand the impact of Angela Hayes' choreography in that moment. And I'm talking about Schindler's List. If you were in that room, you're with me right now, you're feeling it. You're not just thinking about it, you're feeling it. It was a story. It was unique. It was different. It wasn't 8 counts. It moved people. It moved people at a time when people were gravitated to a story and to a theme and something that only dance can really do. It moves you. And so that's what I love about Angela Hayes, is she's taken, if you imagine a timeline of dance team, of drill team, we have our founding mothers, and I love every one of them. And then it's the next generation, and imagine that vertical line. And that name is Angela Hayes. Because she took Schindler's List, she created the story, the movement, the feeling. And you know that word, impression or presentation? It's more than that. It's the powerful connection of art and dance and having young men and women understand history and a story. And that's what Schindler's List was. It was a vertical line on the timeline of Dance Team. And I hope and I know that every woman and man that was in that room, I hope that they always remember like I do, and if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. I know that everything that she does is impactful, but there are some moments that stop time, and that was one of them.
My long enduring career at Dulles High School would not have happened if I had not made the connection with Betsy. Back then it was Betsy Conway, and that was through Donna Mastandria Haas. So one of the things that we have in common that people may not always think about is that our feelings about lyrical as a category come from a very deep and emotional place, that we were very connected to it, because when I was growing up, there was jazz and kick and maybe prop, not even necessarily palm routines. And I had this vision of dancing a full group. And I was at Northwest High School for 2 years. And my second year there, we did this really beautiful piece. And when we got to contest, we got lots and lots of kudos for it, but we also got a lot of grief because I had to put it in the jazz category. But it evolved into lyrical.
I had always admired Angela from seeing her choreography from the very beginning. I mean, and when I saw her lyrical the very first time, I mean, I was so taken back and inspired by it, and it helped me to enter into that genre, which was not a genre at that point. I mean, that was really our first connection together. And then it was that led me into pursuing Angela to come and take over as I moved from Dulles to Memorial.
Well, and then Betsy probably never thinks about this because, like I said, we have such a shared love of the lyrical modern. Now they call it contemporary, maybe they call it open, but we have a shared love of that type of movement. But I took the job at Dulles having never even really seen a military, and I had to step into the role of doing militaries from the military queen. And so I had to take what she had done, the foundation she had given those students, and expand on it and still take it in an Angela quirky way. And so we evolved, both of us, in the industry. People think about, oh, that's this style and that style, but it was literally because we bounced off of each other.
Exactly.
That we had similar interests. What we have together is a fierce and genuine passion for the next generation of dance educators. As Michelle Barth was the captain the year that Jack came into the world, my son Jack. And one of the things that's very important to me is that dances have an underlayer that has something to do, that is a touchstone, meaning, especially when you're doing the lyrical, modern, the contemporary, it's very important to have that touchstone. And there's nothing more precious than when you bring your first kiddo into the world. And so as my beautiful captain, an incredible dancer, we created what we call Jack's Dance. It's to the song To Make You Feel My Love.
And doing that dance, I remember each time thinking, Jack's going to watch this one day, and I have to make sure that I make her and him proud. And now when I do dances for Eleonora, I hope that when she watches them, that she'll understand that I picked that song specifically for her. In the end, it would be a lovely way to sort of honor both myself as a director and a mom.
Well, something that I realized as soon as I got to college was that not everybody was given the same opportunity that I had when I was in high school.
Yes.
I entered college knowing way more than my peers did that were going into the same profession because of who we had as a director. Like, she instilled so much knowledge in us that we didn't even know we had until we pursued this career.
You know, all of the different things that you had to do as officers and as leaders, I think, is what inspired me to want to do that. You know, I didn't always know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to teach dance in some capacity. And seeing all of the stuff that you taught me, I thought, you know, I want to be able to do that for someone else. I want to have that person that inspires. You know, you inspired me, so I want to inspire someone else. And
I have a big heart for marching band, but because we got to do it as a doll, it was just part of our season. But something that I love now from the director standpoint is that it helps the students gain an appreciation for other programs and see how hard that a program like the marching band works, but they also work towards an end goal. And we were given ownership at such an early level as a student to be able to be because of the example that was set for us. I mean, she's just such a creative genius.
yes,
Or mad scientist.
looking back on who I am and what I've learned and the type of director I am, even just today from year one, I would not be the same person that I am without you. And what I've been able to become because of what you've taught me, it just has made all the difference in the world.
I remember saying, you have to be some version of an intellectual, but also a stand-up comedian. Instead of just worrying about the big point skill sets, sometimes we got to put the fun back in it. Because if it's fun for the kids, it's fun for you, and it's definitely fun for our audience.
But I guess I'm the fun side because the dances I remember the most were the Bumblebee and the Surfer Military. And when I was sitting there watching that as a young director, I was like, how in the world did she think of those two concepts as a military dance? Those were two separate dances, but just the ideas to take those two things and make them a military dance, the movement choices, the prop choices, the choreographic choices that she made were just, we were just standing there like only Angela could think of something like that.
Carly and I worked together on a really important piece that we did one time.
Yes, it was Hymns to the Fallen, and it was a beautiful setting of had your crosses, you had your angels and your fallen soldiers.
Choreographically, it was a challenge. I had a lot of different skill levels in that dance.
Lots of different skill levels.
And so we created around those different skills, built choreography that showcased what the kids could do and what their strengths were. Probably one of the most important things I can ever say is that there was never a dance that was just mine. I might have been the crazy one that came up with the idea, but I always felt like it was our creation.
We were a part of the creativity, and it was very common for Angela to get an idea in her head, a vision of this needs to be some circular moment, and they're doing this over here. Go outside, you have 2 minutes, and you better come back with something good.
Those young dancers became artists, and that had to mean that as much as I want to be a control freak, I had to entrust them with my vision and with their own creativity.
Angela just always had an innate sense of hearing music, bringing music to life. Her musicality is extraordinary, but she truly is like the composer of the piece. She just has a unique way of seeing seeing dancers come to life, or seeing a different visual grouping or formation change or levels. And it always goes back to what the music is telling her. When Angela has the opportunity to have a captive audience, she is going to entertain them. And there's going to be a range of emotions, whether it's laughter or joy or pride or tears. She finds a way to bring her pieces to resonate with her audience, wherever it is, if it's on the football field, at band show, or at spring show, or at contest.
That everybody needs to find a genuine soulmate in the industry. It may not be someone you work with every day, but it's someone who is your soulmate. And they get you through the tough times. And I choose to talk about this tough subject because it's real. And one of the things that I always wanted to be was real with my students. You've heard me be silly, and of course we did serious things, but I went through a lot. Single, got married, had my child, went through lots of different types of infertility, and culminating in miscarrying twins. And this was a very desperately hard time to get through because of all things, timing-wise, it was right in the middle of contest season. And as we've talked through this video, we've talked a lot about how I put my heart and soul into the dances that we're creating, and I couldn't even begin to imagine how I was going to put a lyrical on the floor. And I learned that lesson really in a very honest way when I had to experience being a woman going through the saddest thing that you could possibly go through. The part of the story that is great is that I had this amazing structure of students and friends. I think you went and ran my practices for me. And I'm really in tune to music and what the music means. Picked a selection that is very important and still is important to me this day, and that is the song Get Here. Because I told my students that I was doing my best to get there to them, because I had to prepare myself to step back into my regular professional life when my personal life wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Still a vivid time in my life, and you rose above it. I still feel like I'm at a crush point on it, but it was a chance in our life that I could help you out and be a best friend, but also a time that you were resilient and you came back to work and you dove into your work and you found some meaning. And we were honest with your students, and I remember sitting in a circle and you were in the hospital, and I cried with them and I cried with your principal, and to work our way through it. And it's a time that I would never want to go back to, but it's a time that I know shaped you as the person you are today.
Incredibly formative, that for all the things that I've done, being able to be brave for those kids and being able to get there for those kids made me who I am beyond that persona that we've been laughing about that ran practices and did those kinds of things. And truthfully, I wouldn't ever be able to do that without best friends.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
The different impacts that you've made for everybody's lives and everybody's kind of projection forward, if you will. Some of us have stayed in the dance world and some of us have moved on to other things. But I think what doesn't go away is what you've taught us from the perspective of really putting your whole heart and soul into whatever it is that you're doing. And however that looks for any of us, you've always been there to cheer us on, and you've always been there to push us to our next level. So I think that that's one of the very special things that you offer to all of us, no matter where we are in life.
She's doing so many amazing things with I'm going to say the 21st century version of what dance team is in the state of Texas, and she might not bring that up, but I will, because even though I didn't teach you directly, Your accomplishments just make my heart swell. I'm always so proud, and everything you're doing to really revolutionize and modernize what we do in dance education.
Without people like you who have set that path and showed us what it truly means and who we truly want to be, and how to impact dance education for the future, I would not have been able to do those things without crossing the paths of people like you, who have showed and instilled things in us that we might not have had exposure to. So I thank you for that, because of that, we are where we are and can continue to do what we're trying to do to impact dance and dance drill teams in our state.
Looking along the timeline of my career, I've learned that creativity is a process of experimenting, innovating, growing, taking a few risks, and possibly challenging a few rules, making a few mistakes, but ultimately always having fun with kindred spirits at my side. I want to thank friends and family, and especially Texas dance educators, past and present, for supporting and encouraging me each step of the way. And I want to especially thank you for this honor that you have bestowed on me today.